What makes you feel the most vulnerable?
I feel the most vulnerable when I'm trusting someone with my feelings. This isn't even necessarily romantic feelings. I think when you're just letting your walls down in front of someone and expressing sides of you that they didn't necessarily know, I think it's often hard for people to process their own feelings sometimes, let alone someone else's. And I also think the minute that you do that, you're kind of opening yourself up to their criticism, their judgment. They can hold things over your head or manipulate you. And I'm not saying that always happens, but you're just putting yourself out there to them in a much different way. And that can be really difficult.
Hello, good morning. How are you? Now my goal with every intro and outro is just to make Brandon crack up. And what's even better about this is that we had to take Brandon's mic away this morning because for some reason the mic placed here would not work. It must be a setting anyways. So now I'm making you laugh and you can't even respond to me. Well, at least that they'll be able to hear.
They'll feel it.
They'll feel it. So looking forward to this episode. She is a journalist, she's a beauty editor, she's a writer, she's a lot of things that I've known about her professionally, and I've seen her work and I really admire it. In this industry, you meet a lot of people, right? But it is like my gut and my intuition or whatever. It was like this body sensory experience. That sounds weird. I swear I'm not hitting on you, Dahvi. That happened last time that I saw her. We ran into each other. Actually, Brandon was there too at a Kaoli fragrance launch event here in Hollywood. And I was just like so happy to see her. And her vibe was so good. I really enjoyed hanging out with her. She introduced me to a couple of her friends that she was with. And I was just like, these are my people. The energy is good. I don't know what she wants to talk about here, but I know that she has a story to tell. And she definitely is going to deliver based on what we kind of chatted about leading up to this. So I can't wait for you to hear just honestly her vulnerabilities that she is brave enough to share here today. Um, and get to know a little bit more about her professional history. You know, one thing I was thinking is, as a beauty director, really my counterpart are the beauty editors. They're often who I'm working with, who I'm doing makeup for, who I'm interviewing with, and definitely like a category of talent that I was hoping to have on this podcast. And for one reason or another, I haven't had that many yet. Like, I think Claudia Valdez, my friend and founder of Topics That Transform, former beauty editor at Vogue, might be the only other beauty editor I've had on, unless I'm short-circuiting, which happens often. But so, yeah, very excited for that too, just to hear a little bit more about that world and what they do. And because the influencer scene is big and it's important and it has done a lot for the industry in more ways than one. But the beauty journalists, the beauty editors, the beauty directors were there before and have been there for so long, and they're educators and they're experts. And, you know, maybe I'm biased because I'm a beauty director, but I want to create more space for them as well. So hope that you enjoy this. She'll be here any minute. And I'll see you at the end.
And we're live.
And we're live. And we just roll right in as well. So, hi.
Hi.
I'm so happy that you're here. I thank you for doing this. Believe it or not, writers, especially beauty writers, have always really been like someone I've thought about having on here. And you're only the second, I think.
Wow.
So, I'm very happy that you're here. And just in like meeting you the couple of times that we have met, my gut just like always had me drawn to you. And then in our conversation day before yesterday, when we were chatting a little bit about filming and like what we're going to talk about and things like that, I was like, this is why my gut drew me to you. But I always like for my guests to get the opportunity to introduce themselves in their own words. So if you would like to.
Sure. Well, first of all, thank you for having me on. I'm so honored to be here.
Of course. Thank you
Look
for
up
being
to
here.
you. You are
What?
such a force in this industry.
Feeling is mutual.
And
my
you have
friend.
a wonderful reputation. That's hard to come by.
Thank you.
But anyway, that said, yeah, so I'm Dahvi Shira. I am a beauty lifestyle journalist, and I've been a journalist for 15 plus years. I am from Southern California, Orange County, which is crazy because I've lived in LA for 19 years, I think.
It's home.
Which is crazy.
Yeah.
And my family's from the East Coast. So growing up, I was going back and forth to New York like maybe 3 times a year.
Okay. You have
Yeah.
you have New York in you.
Yeah, I get
Like
that.
you could tell me you were from New York just like straight up and I'd be like, oh yeah.
Yeah, I know, it's funny. So growing up, I definitely identified with East Coast vibes more. Now I'm like, okay, LA is definitely home. I love LA in terms of just what it's done for my career and my friends. And it's interesting. Some people have their college friends, things like that. I feel like LA is really where I met everyone. I'm from the time I started out my first job to now. So it really is like the foundation of who I am, I would say. Yeah, it's been really, I know
love this
everybody's,
city.
yeah, everybody's experience with LA is so different. Those first 2 years were obviously so hard, like they are for a lot of people.
Yes. Yeah, I agree with that. Actually, the first time I moved to LA, I left and I didn't have as good of a time the second time I came back. It was when it clicked.
Yeah,
It can be hard to just kind of find your people, like, or find people, period, you know?
Yeah, and I think what's interesting too, and I don't know if you can relate, like before you really got your feet segmented in the industry, you kind of have to have, when you come to LA, you really do have to have something to bring to the table, which I certainly agree with, even like the cliche of it all. But I think, you either have to be ridiculously good looking, ridiculously wealthy, or, have a really strong career. So if you're just coming out here, oh, it'll be fun, and you really
Yeah.
don't have anything to offer, it's hard to connect with people. And as shallow as that may seem, that's just kind of the nature of it. And I understand that. And I understood it then when I moved here. And even though it was not fun to live through, once I got that first like real job,
What was that?
I was an assistant at E!
Are you okay?
Well, what's really
That's such a gnarly first job in LA. Like, are you okay?
okay, well, technically my first job was at a tanning salon, but that's a whole other story because you have to have the tanning salon rite of passage.
This is the most quintessential LA experience I have ever heard. That's amazing.
Well, the tanning salon, that was like at my lowest point.
Okay, so
Because-
sorry to call your lowest point
No,
amazing.
no, I laugh about it. What's really interesting is now that it's been 19 years and I've met so many people and done so many things, I have to tell you the tanning salon was my shadiest professional experience ever in 19 years, and which is so funny to say.
Yeah.
They literally trained us to scam people.
Oh shit.
I mean, and
Yeah.
it was actual like training and not kind of like, oh, you're going to want to make these sales and this and that. No, it was literally
Like
blatantly telling you how to scam people. And people would come and they'd have these rules like if someone asks how many tans they have left, you automatically say 0. Or if they have 10 and they think they have 5, and then you can add it on to their next package and pretend like you're giving it to them for free. It was bad. And some people picked up on it. Some people didn't.
Yeah. Wow.
I didn't do well at that job. So I
Understandably.
guess I wasn't made for this
You're not a
life.
con artist.
But interestingly enough, so I go, so then I had a different job at E! It was at this place called E! News Now, which is now defunct.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know
Yeah,
now.
it was basically like they would just like regurgitate like stories that were posted on E! Online and kind of turn them into like video.
Okay.
It wasn't, I was a PA. I mean, it wasn't like you're not in the field. It was not cut out for that one either. So I got laid off. But my goal was to be an entertainment writer, reporter.
I feel like these two examples of jobs, like you saying I got cut off or I wasn't good at it, is in fact a positive thing. So carry on. Sorry.
No, I know.
Just want to validate you and laugh.
And in the moment, it was so awful because it's, again, like these two prior positions, I didn't have any friends. I I don't want to say I didn't have any self-worth, but like you don't have a lot of inner confidence. Like nothing's giving you confidence.
Community.
Yeah, exactly. So I did feel lost in those two failed positions, but I ended up, so this is actually kind of funny looking back. So now my first boss was Mark Malkin, who is now a variety, he's like the main variety.
Okay, I was like, that
red
sounds
carpet
familiar, but I
reporter.
don't know who that is.
Yeah, he's always on the red
I'll
carpet.
try to recognize him.
Yeah, you definitely, if you saw him, you would know exactly who he is. He's very much out there. But you know, it's interesting. We haven't spoken pretty much since like shortly after I stopped working for him. But it was he was an amazing boss. Like I learned a lot from him. So I actually walked away with a really positive experience. I didn't know how that would go.
That's good.
Back then at E! Online, you had like 4 columnists and then their direct assistant and maybe an intern. It wasn't like a huge group of people. I mean, we all were sitting with each other and we all kind of worked together, but it wasn't, you were really with your direct boss.
Yeah, gotcha.
So we were working pretty intimately. And yeah, I mean, that was like that time in my life being on those red carpets so early on where like we didn't have TikTok, we didn't have Instagram, we had Twitter and Facebook.
At that point, did they have you on camera?
So we had to, because it was great because also there were a lot fewer outlets back then. Now you've got 1 million people on a red carpet. Back then it was so limited. So we were fortunate enough that they would actually give E! News its own space. And that was like, those were the on-camera people, you know, Jason Kennedy, Juliana, and then sometimes the people like Ken Baker or whoever wanted to handle that. And then you'd have E! Online. So that was where I got to have my own spot on the carpet. And so I would be doing, it's mostly like dancing with the stars people, but like.
But how fun.
Yeah, no, it was really fun. But and then we went to so many events. And back then, because we didn't have TikTok and barely Instagram, if you saw 2 celebrities that were maybe dating or, you know, had some drama or were in the news, and they were there, you couldn't go home until they left. So if it was 2 a.m, midnight, whatever. So that was really interesting.
Until they left because you had to make sure you got like
Yeah.
the shot or the story or the
yeah.
tea.
The tea, yeah.
Because it wasn't coming up on social. Yeah, that is wild to
Yeah.
think about.
Yeah. So then you'd go home and you'd file a story, and then the next day you'd write your story. And so yeah, it was really cool. That was my first real like writing, reporting opportunity. And it was really
What a way to get thrown into the deep end.
Yeah. It was nerve-wracking because it's like I didn't know celebrity, you know, and you get used to it really quickly.
Yeah.
You're at first really nervous. Oh my God, a celebrity. It could have been anyone, like the lowest level celebrity, but you were like, you know.
Yes, of course. Well, like you're thinking, it's not only like the starstruck part of it too, like because you just haven't been in those environments before, but it's also like the nervousness for self, like, and self-performance. Like at that point in, like, I think just about anyone's career, like you're just like, oh my God, am I doing it right? And like now we go to an event or we go to, you know, it's like, oh, we got this. But
We got this. Yeah, it's so funny. I look back to the cheesy questions. I was never asking offensive questions. They were just cheesy questions. Like it was just a different time. We'd ask the silliest things. But but I didn't ever ask anything like offensive. That was never our genre of reporting.
you weren't like trying to dig too hard.
Yeah,
And
we
like,
left that to like the true tabloids, and we were
Yeah.
next to them on the carpet, and we were like,
Okay.
we're not gonna
that's
associate
nice.
with you. Yeah, so
So it's
we
not fun to have to go
we
there.
had
I don't think.
ethics, but still the questions were sometimes just silly. But it was fun. It was so much fun. I definitely don't ever want to be on a red carpet again doing interviews. That gets old and tedious real quick.
Exhausting, I bet.
Yeah, it's not fun, but initially it's exciting. But overall, that job was really.
Is this what led you into kind of, we were talking about this like massive career pivot that you experienced. Is this part of what led you into that?
So interestingly, so everything at E! Online was great. In fact, so that led me to my next job, which was actually at People,
Okay.
which was really exciting. So
You've had all the heavy hitters.
yeah, that was why my career kind of got a really exciting start from the jump.
Yeah.
And then, yes, things kind of took a pivot. So I was at People for 4 years, and I was very fortunate in that position as well, that my direct boss was also an incredible mentor in a completely different way than the first boss was. So it was really exciting. I kind of got the best of both worlds. The first boss kind of gave me like, you know, 101 onto red carpets and writing back to PR emails and things like that.
Yeah.
Whereas my second boss was like a true journalist. You know, he'd been doing this for like 30 years. He's written books. He's like brilliant.
That's cool. Yeah.
So I did the typical, you know, fluffy celebrity stuff, but I was also doing some hard news as well. So it really got me to really focus on like real journalism.
Yeah, and figure out what you like and what you don't like.
Yeah. So everything was great. And then layoffs happened. And, this is something I've only really shared on my Substack. So I haven't really talked about this publicly, but it's really crazy to think. I didn't know in that moment when we got that call. So there were mass layoffs because it used to People was under Time Inc.
Okay.
And then they got bought by Meredith.
Okay.
Which all of us were unfamiliar with Meredith. They kind of
the umbrella that owns some of the bigger.
Yeah, they're still around. Yeah. But at the time, like none of us had heard of this Meredith.
Yeah.
And so, they wiped out a lot of these publications. So some people did stay and then a lot of people had to go. So they got rid of everyone on my West Coast team. I was on People.com's team.
Okay.
So they got rid of me. They got rid of the boss that I was telling you about. They got rid of a lot of people. And anyway, in that moment, I didn't realize like how it was going to impact my life. Everybody was like, oh yeah, you have got this crazy resume, and we're going to tell so-and-so, we're going to let everybody know.
Yeah.
I think layoffs are a lot different now. At the time, there was such a stigma. It was crazy.
Around being laid off, that when you're interviewing, when you're judged for it, essentially?
Not interviewing, just the people around you. It's like people will say in the moment when I was still, because they gave us our 2 weeks. I took the 2 weeks instead of just leaving because I really want to tie up all my loose ends.
Sure.
So I wasn't fired, they weren't like, get out of here,
Yeah.
So I just kind of used those 2 weeks to sort of gather my things from my office and then just tie up loose ends with emails and things like that. So during that time, a lot of people that were still on staff, they came into my office and were saying their farewells and like, oh my gosh, we're going to tell everyone that we know, to look out for you. And, people have all these, but once the layoff happens and you're back at your apartment and you're by yourself, the Instagram check-ins kind of decrease and everything kind of, and then you notice it's weird. It was really weird. So anyway, I spent a full decade really trying to get my feet back on the ground. So, I did some freelancing, like I freelanced for Billboard, which was really exciting. That was one of my goals. I really loved music at the time. It was a really exciting time to love music. It was before TikTok. It was before things were as accessible. So it was really cool. So I did that a little bit. I worked at a startup for a few years. And just I had some other, gigs here and there. I actually worked at a beauty brand for about 4 months.
Oh, whoa.
Was not a fit on either end.
Yeah.
So that's okay. I don't really know what they're up to right now anyway. So, but I wish them all the best.
This whole, just to kind of double tap on what you're saying, because I feel like it's really relevant right now with how many layoffs are happening in the beauty industry, especially. A lot of people are talking about it. A lot of people have been looking for work for a long time. And so like, I think it's very compelling what you're sharing and kind of the lostness that happened. I don't know what it is, but you're not the first one to express this to me. I'm seeing a lot of people in the industry and in my network, and even over the last couple of years experiencing this. So I don't know, just thank you for bringing it up and like how shitty and hard it was.
Yeah,
I'm being real about that.
I really do want people to know that as long as they're putting in the work and meeting people and not being afraid to put their name out there. I don't mean you have to be a clout chaser and meet someone in the second you meet them, tell them, oh, I'm looking. But you build relationships. You start building your confidence. You find other ways to show, what your passions are. So, it is tough, but I think the blessing for me came during the pandemic. I got laid off from the startup that I was working at.
Okay.
And, when the first layoff happened, when the layoff happened from People, that was a totally different shakeup. That was like, oh my God, I feel like I'm losing my identity. I'm so insecure. When the layoff happened from the startup, even though I've been there a while and even though it was a source of income and everything, I was like, I just feel differently. I'm ready to.
It didn't feel like part of your purpose, passion, pathway forward.
I was developing Stockholm syndrome from this startup because I knew that I wasn't pushing myself. I knew that I wasn't being challenged. I knew that the people I was working with weren't, going to be anything monumental in my future. You know what I mean? So, but I was like, oh, but I have a job and it's working out. And I like my coworkers. Yeah, this is good.
Yeah.
It wasn't. I was holding myself back. So as soon as I got laid off, that was when I had a little bit of beauty experience at this point. I was actually writing for Mane Addicts.
Okay.
I was freelancing for them for quite some time. That was a really positive experience. I loved that. And so that was kind of my first real like beauty sort of
introduction.
yeah. So they gave me a
Cool.
little taste. And then at the startup, because it was a startup, we didn't really have like organized niches or sects or beats, so we could kind of write about whatever. So we would kind of write these, lipstick reviews, things like that. So I kind of got to know a little bit about the space, but I would have never called myself a beauty writer. And then once I got laid off, I just started, I pitched some ideas to Glossy and they took my ideas. And so I was freelancing for them for a while. And that was really exciting because that was getting to really tell the business stories. And I didn't really have a lot of experience doing that, but it was working.
Were you like feeling motivated at this time? Like, where were you emotionally? Because, like, girl, the amount of layoff resilience you have had to fill,
I've been laid off a lot.
like,
I know,
and you can be like, I'm not going to take that personally because layoffs are layoffs, which is absolutely true. But at a certain point, it's like, what the fuck?
Yeah, now that you bring it up, I've been laid off a lot.
I mean, redirects, right?
Yeah. No, and you know what? Honestly, in retrospect, all of it has been worth, they always say brings you where you are today. But yeah, some of them were not fun. Oh, I mean, yeah. But
Well, it's the uncertainty. It's obviously the foundational, like, part of your life and logistics as well. But I think for you to like be like, oh, I've never really worked in beauty and I just got laid off and I'm going to pitch these ideas to Glossy and then it's going to come to fruition is pretty badass.
yeah, no, I think I did have like, I think also too, what was really exciting, and I'm not saying, oh my gosh, I'm excited it was the pandemic and I'm excited for people who were really, truly struggling. I'm just talking about myself personally.
Oh, yeah.
I enjoyed those early stages of lockdown because it was the first time I wasn't schlepping to work every day at this job that I wasn't passionate about, and it was an hour away and then an hour back, and I just felt like I was losing myself in this, just the driving alone.
Yeah.
So now I had this time at my apartment by myself.
Yeah.
I didn't mind being alone. I enjoyed it. And as time went on, the pandemic definitely roughened you up a little bit, but at the early stages, I was really enjoying it. I was really embracing every moment of free time. So I think I did have a little bit more energy and creativity.
Okay.
And I was excited.
Love that.
And I started being really tapped into TikTok. Not at the earliest stages, but I'd say like second early. Yeah, like where Hiram and those, skinfluencers were really rising. And so, yeah, I was getting a lot of insight. And I noticed that sometimes the people who were on staff didn't have as much time to follow all these trends, to follow every single in and out of TikTok. So I was pitching these ideas that maybe weren't, that I thought were just everybody knew.
Right.
But
you had your
weren't.
finger on the pulse.
Yeah. So that was great. And then I started writing these stories, and I really liked covering the business side of things. I mean, to some extent, there are some people who cover it at such a meticulous level that I'm like, okay, that's not as deep as I want to.
Yeah, you're not necessarily doing analytics and like crunching numbers here, but I like to talk about the business.
Yeah,
I
do love covering kind of this like industry side of things. I am a journalist at heart, so for me, fluff pieces. I do some fluff I freelance, so I do some fluff pieces.
I just speaking of fluff, pun intended, because brows. I just saw your Rare Beauty piece, and funny enough, I have it on today.
Oh my God, that was the first thing I noticed when I saw you today. I was like, your brows look amazing.
Girl, you too. We are brow.
Oh gosh,
boozies.
My brows are my biggest insecurity. They're such a struggle.
Insecurity.
Yeah, because
I'm like, girl, you have such a bold, like, badass brow. But maybe is it what you put into it?
Well, so I was this sounds so cliche, but I really was like an overplucker of the 90s.
Yes.
It's no joke. That was
you mentioned
thing.
This.
That was a thing. So I look back.
It was such a thing.
I look back on like anybody I know's photos, right?
Yeah.
When I say pin thin, I'm talking like pencil. The thinner it was, it didn't matter where you were geographically or what your socioeconomic status. It was just a thing. And I look back, I'm like, I don't even understand it. Like it did not look good.
I know.
So I always joke with everyone. I always say your hair always grows back in the places you don't want it to.
Yeah, isn't that the truth?
but when you want it to grow back and, maybe you have a bald spot or maybe you've got a, sparse brows or whatever the case, it never grows back in those places.
Yes.
So, yeah, I honestly would say, the brows have probably been like, I don't want to say the biggest beauty struggle overall. I think we all have, there are definitely deeper struggles I've had, but in terms of things that you can see off the bat,
Yeah.
the brows have been tough because, the minute that someone takes off my makeup during a facial, or if I have to, go to something barefoot, we're doing a masterclass, a skincare masterclass, the minute those brows come off, my face changes.
You don't feel yourself.
I do not feel myself.
You do them so beautifully that you wouldn't even know
They're
that there
so
would be that stark of a difference, and that's coming from someone who does makeup. No, I mean it. Like,
You're so
because
sweet.
it looks like all natural hair, and like obviously there's more filled in, but they're beautiful.
You're so sweet. That means a lot. And I do have, some days are better than others. I look at some videos and I'm like, ooh. And then other videos I'm like, wait. It's
Well,
like-
that's also lighting with brows though, because when you do, thank you. When you do brow, like that's also lighting with brows, because when you do brows, there's so much light that can penetrate them. And if you're not shading them correctly,
yeah.
like you get little pockets, and then they'll look way different like in a light or on a photo than they will like when you were doing it in the mirror.
Totally. And I'm sure you know this too. It's like obviously different pencils. Like you could use a
Yes.
pencil that's a half a shade lighter or darker.
Makes it.
And, I had a friend who was very comfortable with me.
I had a lot of
And
bad
she
brow
was like,
faces
dude,
myself.
this was like a month ago. And she's like, yeah, I think you're making them a little too blocky. I think you're shading. And I was like, but I wasn't even
It's
offended.
a good friend.
I was like, you know
a
what?
good friend.
I was like, I get it. Cause I always try to like talk about the brows. So if someone has input, I can't, it's like, you can't tell them they can't comment on the brows if you're making that your whole personality.
It's gonna be a common.
So I was like, okay, you know what? Let's take a step back. Let's regroup. And then
Oh,
I
yeah.
took her comments very seriously. She wasn't being mean. She was just,
No, of course.
And then I was like, okay, let's go with a lighter hand with a lighter pencil and a different pencil overall. So I experiment a little. Again, some days are better than others.
I experiment a lot, and some days are definitely better than others. And I've had phases or like a product that I've been using, and I'm like, this looks so good. And then I'm like, oh, there's like 3 months of my brows that look disastrous.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's great. And different phases too, like you could look really, like 3 months. I'll look at sometimes where there's like a pocket of 3 months,
Yeah.
and then you look just drastic. You'll have like 3 months where you look amazing, and then you go into another phase 3 months later.
So many phases.
And
But I think something you said like definitely rings true for a lot of people is that regardless of what you're taking off beauty wise, I think most of us, like for me, it was acne. So like taking off my foundation, taking off my concealer, it was like I was exposed. I felt so uncomfortable. As like a young girl, I would go to sleepovers and I would not take off my makeup. I would sleep in my makeup. When I started dating, like same thing. Like I would sleep in my makeup because I didn't want anyone to see me, or I wouldn't go to like CVS.
Yeah, I'm so insecure about the brows. Like even if I'm with like a best friend and we're
Mhm.
having a little slumber party or whatever,
Even if it's a bestie.
I don't want to take off the brows. Like I'll certainly wash my face. I'm very diligent about washing my face, but I will sometimes, just kind of
Yeah.
um
Does it stem from like over plucking them in the first place, or do you think that it stems back to anything else?
It's interesting. I think, okay, so funny you should bring up over plucking. That's actually a whole other issue, but in a completely different way.
Yeah.
So I've written about this. I wrote an article for Well and Good in 2022, I think it was. And I interviewed experts and then also included my own experience. But I actually have trichotillomania. But what's really
You mentioned
interesting,
this, and I'm really glad that you're talking about it.
it's interesting because a lot of people who suffer from it, and I don't know if you're familiar with
I was
what.
gonna say, I know what it is because my mother had it.
Oh, wow.
But that's the only reason I know. I don't think that a lot of people out there do. So I'd love for you to explain.
Yeah, it's so interesting. So it's kind of, and I'm never going to say like I have OCD. I don't have OCD, but I do believe it is like a tiny, tiny facet. It's a compulsion, right?
Right.
It's an obsessive.
Yeah, I don't
compulsion.
know either if it falls under that umbrella, but it sounds like it would.
Yeah, and I don't want to be like clinical and
No, of
I'm not
course.
trying to diagnose, like say anything. I'm just saying it is an obsessive compulsion.
Yes.
But it doesn't feed into every aspect of my life. Like I'm not
Yeah.
obsessive about everything. It's this one thing. But basically it's the obsession with like pulling at hair, what's really interesting is most reported cases, at least the ones I've read about, really apply more to the hair on the head.
Yes, that was my
to-
mom.
Some have it on
The
the
lashes
eyelashes.
are really common.
And then sometimes the eyebrows. For me, and not the sexiest of topics, but I do have like some chin hairs,
Oh my
some
gosh,
facial
no.
hairs.
Yeah, I do. I get them too.
And as I've gotten older, they're more prevalent. It used to be, I think everyone as a kid or as an adult or as a teen, they always say they had one. They're like, I had that one hair,
Yeah.
And that was how it was for the longest time. You have one hair, and even then it really bothered me. But as I've gotten older and hormones and all the things, I do have, hairs. And it's never been, it's for me, the issue, people are like, oh, I can't see it. Don't worry. I'm like, no. It's never been about people seeing it. No one can see the hairs. It's about feeling it.
Mm-hmm.
That's what the compulsion is. Like you feel a tiny hair and it's
Consuming.
It's consuming you. It's a debilitating feeling until you remove that hair or hairs that you can feel. You really,
My gosh.
it's crazy. And so what's really interesting about it though is people who have it, like for instance, I don't relate to having it here or here. I have not a singular compulsion
Never even
to
been
pull
tempted.
anything
Interesting.
here,
Okay.
to pull anything here. Interestingly, about going back to the brows that we were talking about,
Yeah.
that was actually where it started, but in a completely different way than the over plucking. That was more of a trend thing or just the time.
Right. Yes. I figured.
It wasn't until college when it was like, again, these like the prickly little like
Yeah.
hairs that were underneath the main brow. I would get aggressive and like they would bleed and then I don't know when things transition to the bottom of my face, but the brows don't bother me.
Well, the thing I'll say about both the brow hairs on the lower brow and the facial hair around like the jawline and the chin, I know personally and from other people too, it comes really quickly. Those hairs seem to grow faster. Like they can almost, is it just like, do they not like grow overnight?
No, they grow within the hour.
Like it's so fast that like if you get rid of it and then later that day, like, or the next morning, and then you're like in a business meeting and you're so consumed with something, and then it's hard to get out because you have to use like a tweezer,
and that's when you start inflaming and
oh man.
So it's interesting because I actually am very fortunate. I've never struggled with acne. I'm so grateful. And as an adult, I don't really have serious skin issues. I have dry skin, but not chronically dry skin. And then I have capillaries that exploded or whatever when I was a kid. So I have naturally flushed cheeks.
Okay.
But I don't have like sensitive skin or anything. I can, pretty much put whatever you want on it.
That's nice as a beauty editor.
However, I always have to tell people when I'm getting a facial, I always tell them, I said, if you see any scars or blemishes or anything right here, I don't want you to be alarmed. Like you don't need to treat them with any special care. Just self-inflicted wounds, essentially.
Yeah.
So I think where some people struggle with, picking at their acne or, anything like that, my issue would be I inflame my skin with tweezers. And so
has it always been? Did it start at a certain time? Did something in your life shift and it kind of picked up, or did it just kind of come from nowhere?
it just kind of came, like I said, in college was when I remember exactly. I just remember being in the bathroom, I want to say my senior year, and just like the lower brow prickly.
Yeah.
That was when I remember it in that time. And then the bottom of the face, I mean, it's definitely
Well,
been
that's a stressful time of life.
Yeah.
Usually, like kids are like trying to figure out a lot. So maybe
I think
that
I was
makes
just
sense.
feeling icky, but I really don't know what triggers down here. Even if I'm feeling really, really calm, sure, it's definitely aggravated more when I'm a little more stressed out. Or,
Yeah.
But generally, I could be cool as a clam, and I'm still triggered by the hairs.
What's that like emotional experience for you? Like, for me, when I am in therapy and I'm talking about the things that I do to myself, or the things that I consume or whatever it might be that are self-inflicting harm, there's a lot of shame that comes with it, because there's a moment of like, why am I doing this to myself?
Yeah.
And then in my head, I'm like, then I feel stupid and I shame myself, and then I feel worse, and then I want to do those things more. Is that kind of, or is it so unconscious that like you're just kind of like, this is happening, it's annoying, and I deal with it?
Yeah, I think it's more okay. Well, I'm really open about it with my friends and family. It's because it's been so many years. So I think it's not really anything that
That's
I'm
good.
trying to hide. I can't hide it.
Well, that's the thing.
Like-
The more we talk about this, I mean, that's the whole basis of this podcast.
I
The
know,
more
I
we
love
talk
it.
about this shit, the less shameful it is,
Yeah.
the less impactful it is, and
Yeah.
the better we can process and move through it.
Yeah, I think
So
it's
good for
really,
you.
yeah, it really is important. And I think when I wrote about it in that article in 2022,
That's also huge.
that was a big moment because I really hadn't heard anyone talking about it.
Oh.
And I truthfully don't really know anyone personally. I know everybody I know probably has some sort of thing here and there, or even
Yeah.
just like something that's common like acne or anything, just pretty much anything, a stretch mark or this or that. But I really don't know anyone who suffers from this. I don't know if you'd call it, I don't know if it's a disease or I don't know what you'd classify it as, a mental illness.
I want to say like a condition. I don't know what a word for
Condition.
sure would be called, but
Thank
it's also
you.
like a compulsion. I don't.
Compulsion.
Again, we are not doctors here.
Yeah, we're not claiming to.
The community that listens here also definitely knows that because I talk about it all the time, and I do have a resident therapist who is in fact a licensed. We don't know, but I get what you're saying.
Yeah. So, yeah, I don't have anyone who relates to it at all. But I think because it's been so long that I've been having this issue, everybody just kind of knows. And yeah, when I wrote about it, I felt really good about that. I felt like I was spreading awareness. I think a couple random people had reached out to me. Some girl asked me to be on her podcast and talk about it, and it just never panned out. But it was nice that at least it was attracting some sort of. You always say, I mean, it is true. If you can help one person or make one person feel more seen.
And it's so funny because I think especially in this day and age with social media and platforms, and which you do have, you're doing that through writing this big story, but you're also doing that through just sharing it with your loved ones and your friends and stuff, because even if they're not experiencing that same thing, you're taking away the shame of experiencing something. So it's like you're doing it on a micro and macro level, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, and they do scold me. No one. And you know what's funny too is that even when I see someone else, when I even see someone else like you may be touching it, I'm like I get grossed out by it. So it's like I understand.
I do it.
On the other,
I do.
I will never judge you.
I do it. I don't know that I would go as far as saying that it's compulsive for me, but it is very distracting.
Yeah,
And if I know it's there, it won't be like the whole time, but like. For me, it doesn't feel that I wouldn't put myself in the same classification, but I can in a very small way relate.
Yeah.
Because it's distracting, and I think I'm consumed with maybe someone seeing it, or maybe it's just the way it feels, but I can't stop doing this.
Yes. And I know, and there are, I'm sure, medications for it. I'm sure there's like some anti-anxiety or some type of medication that can control that compulsion. I don't, for me, it's more worth it to just have it than to, go through a whole process.
Have you had the opportunity to talk to like a doctor or a therapist about it, or is it you've just kind of been going through it on your own?
To be honest, I want to know how you feel about this. I feel like with so many things that we deal with inside, that is seriously on the lowest
I think you
level
listen to your gut.
of my priorities. I'm like, I'll deal with it. We all have our little things.
Well, because someone could be experiencing that, and it's like it's the top of their priority. It's all relative, and it's all how you experience it. So if you're like, yeah, you know what? Actually, drawing more attention to this might not be ideal. Like, or
it's just a waste. Yeah, I feel like I'd rather focus on so much other self-help type things. I would like to see an electrolysis. I tried to do the laser hair removal.
An electrolysis?
I heard that an electrolysis is the way to go. I did like 8 sessions of a laser treatment, and they do kind of just grow back. I heard that's not the way to go. You have to do an electrolysis, which actually like genuinely like, because the laser just kind of burns off the I don't know how all this works, but the electrolysis, I think they actually like just directly just pull the whole hair out of the socket, or
like maybe even the root out. Well, I know because I did laser hair removal like on my legs, bikini, underarm type of thing before.
I want to do that. I haven't.
I did like 10 sessions, and they told me I was a great candidate, and it like made it so that I could shave without getting ingrown hairs, and it was like a lot lighter. But even after 10 sessions, I was like, I can't keep spending money on this.
Yes.
Like, but then I do have a friend who's done it really successfully. So anyways, my point is that makes sense if you were to laser the hair on your face. But yeah, and there are so many things in life that we're all juggling and balancing that I get it.
I'm like, the chin hairs, they can take a back seat.
And I think you listen to that too. Like for you, like they take a back seat, whereas maybe there are other things in your life that have to take a front seat. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, I feel like that's actually a really good segue into you shared with me a little bit about the fact that you have ADHD and talk about something potentially taking a front seat.
Yeah.
Maybe that's part of the reason why
Yeah.
sometimes this takes a back seat. Do you feel like that's true?
ADHD is going to take over a lot more. It's funny. What's really interesting about my journey with ADHD is it's not necessarily like okay. So I'll start by saying I'm very, and I don't mean anti for everybody else. I just mean for myself. I'm anti prescription medication.
Yep.
Which is a really weird concept.
I'm actually not very different. I attempted antidepressants and got chronic nausea for 3 years.
Oh my God.
So for me, and I recognize it saves people's lives and it's amazing.
Yes.
I raw dog life as well.
I honestly,
When like some people are like, Melinda, maybe you shouldn't be raw dog.
yeah, I've heard that. I've heard that many times.
Yeah.
So when I was diagnosed at 8 years old, because I think, and we'll get into this.
So young.
Yes, so
Wow.
young. And that was the hard part, was the diagnosis, because no one had ever, I mean, I grew up in Orange County. No one was, like, people didn't talk about mental health or anything. I mean, nobody was really talking about mental health in general.
No.
But certainly there, like, people were, if you had a child who was on medication, they were like, it was a different kind of kid. Those were the problem child kids who, like, were kicked out. They were like, came from crazy families. I mean, there were just so many.
So stigmatized.
Yeah. So I was not that child. I came from a very normal upbringing, but, you know, and I there was no question. Like, I definitely, looking back, okay, yes, I definitely had hyperactivity for sure. Again, not a problem child, but I definitely could not focus. I still can't. I can focus on stuff like this for sure. I'm really good at stuff like that, like interpersonal stuff, but I can't focus on like
if you're like writing a piece, is it really
good-
hard?
I'm really good at that.
Okay. Well, that makes sense because it's obviously your purpose here.
I'm good at the things that, and I think, and I know I'm kind of sidetracking, but
No, that's okay.
if you talk to anyone who is professional and then also has ADHD or ADD, they'll tell you that the things that they want to focus on, they will. Some people can't. But if you really, really want to focus and you really care about your career or this or that, you will focus. It's just everything else. You can't force yourself to be invested.
For
You just
everything,
cannot.
yeah.
Some people can just tune in, lock in. I cannot. That's why when I get invited to these panels, to just watch them, you know, I just usually
You actually probably don't get much from it because you
Yeah.
can't lock in on it.
can't lock in. So
Yeah,
I usually, anything that involves just watching people speak, whatever, unless it's something that's like gonna really hit. I mean, and that's
Do you listen to podcasts? Okay, do you lose
I'm not
attention?
against podcasts. I actually just prefer, if I'm in the car, I just like to listen to music. That just kind of is like my zone.
I think it's better for vibes.
Yeah, it's
sometimes
good-
anyways.
totally
Get out of your
vibes.
head, get into your body.
But for example, even just listening to your podcast when I was preparing for this one, like, I loved, you know, hearing all the insights, and I love hearing people speak candidly. So it's not about not wanting to. It's just
no,
sometimes.
of course. Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, is it a harder thing to do for you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it was interesting because, you know, so I was diagnosed at 8, which, again, fair diagnosis. I definitely had it, but it was very challenging because, like, I didn't tell people. I wasn't like, oh, I'm going to take my meds today. Like, no one was talking about it. It was such a weird thing to go through.
What was that experience like, if I may?
Yeah.
Because my nephew actually was just diagnosed.
No, like, I've never shared this, but I just remember being in the kitchen one day and my mom had like a piece of paper out, and I don't think she was submitting it to a doctor. I don't know, something like that, but just said, like, you know, diagnosed with ADHD or something like that. And I just remember being like, stopped in my tracks, like, oh my God. And it was such a weird feeling. And so you have to understand how crazy it is for me now to see that it's just glamorized and it's, everyone thinks, and that's why I really resonate. And then this is completely aside from, you know, the compulsion that I was talking about with the hairs. I'm talking about people who are clinically diagnosed with obsessive compulsive disorder. They have the same issue in the sense of that they get really offended when people are like, oh my God, you guys, you have to go and see my organized fridge. I'm so OCD. Like, that's
We have
not
to catch ourselves.
Yeah, and I get frustrated when people do that too. With the OCD thing, I think that's pretty harmful to that community of people, and that's the same how I feel about ADHD or ADD. You know, there are things like I think this sounds crazy, but like we were talking about, I can't pay attention. You know, I can't read a book. I mean, like, obviously, I can read.
No,
you
I
know,
get you. It is significantly more draining
Yes.
on the regular.
Yes. And I love conversations. Like, I love conversations with people like this, like where we're on the same page, where, you know, we're flowing. That's great. I'm very good at communication, and I'm also very organized. because I want my life to be organized. Now, when you go to my apartment, I mean, there's just that's a different story. But
Girl, some of these closets that are closed, some of these doors that are closed, I could fit nice in here. I feel you.
but you know what I mean. But in terms of just my life, like I'm always on time. I mean, sure, 5 minutes here and there, of course, everybody, but
Yeah.
I'm pretty much always on time. I know where I need to be. I structure my days. They're packed, but I know when I can fit things in and
Yeah.
all of that stuff. And yeah, I don't consider my life messy. But in terms of things that require a little extra focus, I can't even. And the other really interesting thing is, this is a very unique experience, and I always wonder from other people who are actually clinically diagnosed with ADHD or ADD if they. I only check I can go pick up my mail, like my snail mail. I'll pick it up, and it just sits. It could sit for 6 months. I have a hard time doing little tasks, making appointments. I'll do the big tasks. I'll get my deadlines. I'll do, the things I need to do.
Yeah.
I'll remember all the things on my checklist. I will probably open snail mail twice a year, once tax season, because you kind of have
Yeah.
to.
Yeah.
And then I try to around the holidays when people send their greeting cards. I'm like, okay, I need to give them their their time. But yeah, it's such a
You just have to try really hard to be very conscious of making those things
Yeah.
happen, which is very different from a quote unquote normie or someone who's not diagnosed.
Yeah. And I think too, this is interesting as well, which I've learned. I've actually just started seeing a therapist just via Zoom, just this year. And so far it's going well. I can't speak on the future.
Is this your first time seeing a therapist?
It's the first time making it past session 3.
So it's the first time as an adult in a big way seeing a therapist.
Yeah. I've never connected with traditional therapists. I'm very big on spiritual healing. I've had many, many spiritual healers. I love that side of things.
Oh, we have so much more to talk about. My gosh.
I know that's more me.
Yeah.
Clinical therapy really isn't, because I think a lot of the times people don't really understand me. I'm very layered, not in a traumatic baggage way, but I think a little differently and I see things. I'm a little more intuitive, I think, than the average person going to therapy. Like I kind of know a lot more about myself than some. So sometimes I'm like, we can get past this. I want to get into some,
Yeah.
I don't think a lot of people understand me when I'm going to therapy, and how would they, we just met.
Have you ever done EMDR?
I've heard of that. What exactly?
So EMDR, it's I forget the acronym. It's like mobilize decentralization or something like that. But essentially it is you kind of center yourself, you close your eyes, and they give you these 2 little buzzers in each hand, and it goes back and forth, zzz, 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 zzz. And they've scientifically gone to show that this back and forth motion, whether you're tapping your hands or you're buzzing your hands, this back and forth creates this effect that allows you to tap into your subconscious.
What?
And so a lot of subconscious memories can come to the surface. It's really commonly used for PTSD.
Okay.
A lot of subconscious memories. But for me, with my eating disorder, it was monumental because I had these childhood memories come up that I couldn't remember at all. And they were so telling, and they give me such aha moments. And so it's been incredible. It really fast tracks talk therapy because you're tuning into yourself, and it just makes these ahas happen a lot quicker. But the thing that I continue to say, my experience with it, especially being that I study clairvoyance and I read people and I've worked with a lot of healers as well, it's very spiritual to me. It feels like downloads.
Okay, I'm going to look into this for reals, because I
have an amazing therapist who does it. She's here in Toluca Lake, but she's also virtually. So I'll send you her information just in case. But from what you're saying, it sounds like something that you might love.
Yeah.
Because for me, it's very meditative, but it's very efficient.
Okay, I'm totally open to that kind of stuff.
Yeah. This is also really interesting because you're telling me you were diagnosed at 8. You haven't really been successfully found a therapist that you really jived with that has gone beyond 3 sessions. And now as an adult, you're learning things about what you've been living with your whole life. That's got to be a bit of a mind fuck. Is it a good experience? Do you feel more confused?
Yeah, I mean, no. I think a lot of it, as you get older too, and as long as you're open to exploring. I mean, I think you probably know this better than anyone because you're very intuitive and in touch with yourself. So you probably
sometimes.
But you know what I mean? You understand yourself, I think, to more of an extent than a lot of people. So as you just get older and you let experience and mistakes and highs and lows, you let them kind of guide your knowledge moving forward. So I think that's what I've been doing. So I do think some of it just comes naturally that I've understood myself more, but then hearing her insight, and I don't think we've had any really serious breakthroughs yet. I mean, I think we're on session 5. But I do feel like comfortable with continuing to go with her. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I feel like we could make some progress.
So you like the experience of like accepting help around it?
Yeah. Or I don't like, yes, so far, yes. I don't like when people try to tell you things that you don't feel.
Right.
And I had a really bad experience with a therapist. I think I blocked out of my mind. That's when I said, I haven't gone past 3 sessions with someone. I saw this therapist in Brentwood about, I want to say it was like 2017, 2018.
Okay.
And he wanted to be famous.
That's a weird thing to know about your therapist.
Yeah. And I only know this because he implied
That's why
that.
it's weird, because they would have implied or told you.
Yes, essentially, that's what he said. And there were so many things wrong with him, but I think I was in a really low, vulnerable point in my life.
As you are when you go to a therapist.
Yeah. That was one of those times where I just needed someone to just talk to. Now I'm in a place of like, I feel very grounded in my life for the most part.
Yeah.
So this is just, to talk to this woman is more of just to keep me.
Yeah.
I want to, it's better to come when you're in a place of like.
Oh, yes. I guess I should say as you are when maybe you first speak to a therapist.
Yeah.
Like oftentimes.
Oh, no, you're totally.
People's first time speaking to a therapist is because, or your healer, it's because they're really struggling.
No, for the most part, you are struggling. And to be fair, I think when I initially started with this woman, I think it was just a kickoff to the year. And I think I was kind of feeling like, all right, now I'm better. I think anytime we kick off the year, I'm always like,
Understandably.
But I feel good. But at the time that I was seeing this guy, that was a low point overall. I was just not in a good place altogether. And there was nothing that was going to ground me in that point in time. And he was just, he would talk about himself most of the time. And he would ask me questions because at the time I was no longer working at People, but he knew that I had worked there. And he would ask me specific questions about people that he knew who had worked there. Weird stuff.
Also, like, on your time,
on my
when you're
time.
Paying, like how much dollars a minute, like for therapy, like that's so
and he was really expensive. And I was paying out of pocket, and he would name drop. It was really weird. He was a weirdo. One of the things that really turned me off, aside from the name dropping and taking up time to talk about his life and whatever, he would often try to tell me, like, he came from a lot of baggage, and he told me that because I knew everything about him. He had so much baggage in a completely different way than I could even come close to relating to. But he would take the things that he was struggling with and try to tell me that I should deal with things the way that he dealt with certain things in his life.
Oh boy.
So I think what I'm trying to say is, like, the moment that a therapist tries to cross the line and try to push me in a direction that I know is not for me,
right,
that's when. So as long as this woman that I'm working with, as long as she continues to just listen and, she can share her insight and whatever, as long as she's not pushing me forcing me in a direction that makes me uncomfortable because I know what's right for me, then I'll continue to talk to her.
I completely agree with that. One of the things that I continue to say, whether it's spiritual healing or clinical healing, there are times, of course, that this does not apply, but no one should make you feel like you need something outside of yourself. Now, again, clinical healing, when it comes to like certain things, you might need a medication, you might need I don't want to be super extreme here. However, I think if you're in talk therapy and your therapist is making you think or trying to make you think that like their way is the only way or that they know better than you do, like they should be empowering you to listen to your intuition and be listening to yourself.
Yeah.
So you build those tools. He sounds there's a lot of narcissism there, like the being famous, the talking about himself, That
was a really weird experience for me because he was supposed to be a professional and he was incredibly unprofessional. And I should have complained in the moment. I totally should have reported him. I didn't. Actually, I'll tell you this to wrap things on this topic because it is so interesting that I totally should have reported it. Our very last call, we had been talking for about a year, which is so much, way too long. I think I called in sick that day at work because I had a cold or something like that. So this was our first time doing a phone.
Okay.
And he had the TV on in the background and he was basically just not even listening. And the final thing and you're not gonna believe this, the final thing he says to me, he asked me one last final question that was like a throwaway question. And then he goes, "Oh my God, you're not gonna believe it. Your old coworker is on TV right now."
That's so gross.
And I think, again, I was in such a low point at this
I'm so
in
sorry.
my life.
Yeah, like, geez.
If this had been now, I would have been like, what are you like?
Right.
Like, what are you doing?
Right.
And I just kind of froze. And then our time was pretty much up, and we never spoke again. We never scheduled a session. But I totally should have reported him. He was awful in every sense of the word, and that's that'll scar you. But I think I've just even aside from him, I've never really had any people that I've encountered that really understood me, except for the spiritual healers.
Yeah.
It's funny because it's like I'm talking about stuff that I like didn't even. That's so funny. It's just
Okay, that's my favorite thing. Thank you for saying that. That's the biggest compliment you could have given
yeah.
me.
It's such a casual. I was nervous at first, not nervous about you, just nervous of just how you're gonna feel
Yeah.
when you're sitting down and how
Well,
things are gonna
and
flow.
it is very unstructured. I do like for everyone listening, I don't like have a prep call. I don't have like a big brief. I send you information. I give you example questions of what the conversation's going to look and sound like. And when I have a relationship with the person, and I already know them like I do you, it's not that uncommon that we might touch base and be like, let's talk about this, this, and this.
Yeah.
But a lot of the times I don't. And what I love that you said is that you felt like you ended up kind of talking about things that you wouldn't necessarily have, or maybe, I think when I had Josie on, she was like, oh, I haven't thought about that memory in a long time. I just love watching people have those ahas, or watching people like explore something that like they didn't think of. It's very just personally fulfilling
Yeah,
or
well,
oddly satisfying.
You create a safe space. So it just is a
thank
testament
you.
to,
Thank
to you. And I obviously, anytime you go into these situations, you don't know how the vibes are going to be
Yeah.
or how the format is going to be, even if you like the person, so
Yeah.
you set a very safe space.
Well, and especially too, like I've kind of talked about this with certain guests that I've had on. It's like you and I have met at beauty events. Beauty events are not the place where you get to like really connect. Like it's loud. There's music's bumping. Kali Uchis is performing. Like we make it sound so terrible, but truly, I've met so many incredible people where I've known, like my gut has told me, my intuition has told me, like double tap on this person. And it always stems from like being in a corner screaming over the music at a beauty event and just and that's how it was with you. And I was just like, I feel like I need to have her on. I didn't know that you were woo woo like me, at least at least to the extent.
You've done it professionally. I don't do anything professionally, but
I did a course where I read people through the course. I actually haven't done it outside of that. I'm on a journey.
Yeah, I love that.
I'm in some limbo around some of that.
Wait, sorry, what were you saying? So you were saying the woo-woo thing. What else?
So yeah, the woo-woo stuff, the way that you were so like quick and happy to talk about your mental health. Like you'd be surprised how many people agree to come onto this podcast with the whole explanation and they don't really want to go there. Maybe they think they want to go there, and that's okay because everyone's at a different place. But like I was like, this is why my gut was like, because, and then obviously the professional, like 3D real world stuff that I know about you. Like I like your reading, your reading. I like your writing. Like I've always admired you as a within the industry since we've known each other.
Thank
and
you.
you have a really good, your energy at events feels different than the typical energy at a beauty event. I should say stereotypical energy at an event. There's a lot of really, really cool people in this space and in this industry, but some events you go to and there's just a little bit of a nose in the air or like, I don't know. I've just never felt judged by you or unwelcomed by you, and like your friends you introduced me to were just like such the vibe. When you feel someone's energy like that, I think you should listen.
Yeah,
and I've ignored that a lot in my past, and that's something I very much so am changing now. I'm like, I might not even know your professional background. I did for you, but like I might not know someone's professional background, but if my intuition is telling me they'd be a good person to have on this podcast, everyone has a story to tell. I'm going to listen to it.
Yeah, and I think the same for you. I mean, you have every right, not right, but you could easily be pretentious or, you've done so much in your career. And I appreciate that the same, I don't like entitlement generally at all.
It's the worst. It is the absolute ego is so hard.
I hate it. I love my thing. I love surrounding myself by successful, beautiful people, but who are also grounded. I don't have time or energy for people who are stuck up. Of course, I respect being assertive and standing up for yourself when it calls for it
Sure.
and things like that, and having standards, absolutely.
Yes.
But there's a difference between that and that entitled behavior and just acting. I don't like that.
I'll tread lightly here because I don't know the right way to say it, and I don't want to be like sounds like I think that we are better than other people. It's just I think people who are often envious or pretentious or they have their walls up like that, they haven't had the opportunity, let's say, or maybe the resources or skills or life experience, whether they wanted it or not. It's oftentimes a privilege to like grow.
Yes.
And to have the self-awareness
Yes.
where you know that what you're projecting is really just what's being mirrored back to you, and that trigger is something that you need to work on. And I think when you have that awareness and you experiencing that yourself and you see people who like are acting with their ego, it's just like, I've been there, done that.
Yeah.
Like,
1000%. Anytime that I see someone pretentious walking around, I already know what's going on with
just
them.
putting on a show. You're performing.
Yeah,
You're
yeah.
performing, and I don't want to perform.
Like there's
It's exhausting.
nothing more attractive than an attractive person who's just cool. And
Yeah.
I always say, if you're good looking and you have a good job or a good situation, what the heck do you have to be rude or bitchy or whatever? Like you should be like living your best life. Like you should be nice to I don't mean nice to everyone, you know what I mean? But I mean like respectful to everyone.
Respectful to everyone. Yes.
You know what I mean? Like there's no, so when I meet someone who has the whole package, I'm like, good, that's how it should be. You don't need I'm very, very turned off by pretentious people.
It's just very telling.
Yeah.
And I don't mean to say that in a way that's like those people are not as good. I really do believe that like they're just at a different place in their journey.
Totally.
Maybe like I know I grew up privileged. I grew up in a place where my parents could afford to put me into therapy.
Yeah.
Not everyone had that.
Yeah.
Not everyone had parents who were willing to put them in therapy. All the things.
And to your point, I do think having privilege growing up does play a role into your ability to kind of, you have a little bit more energy to spend on working on yourself. You know what I mean?
You can, but privilege can also.
Yeah, you can.
It's like, how are you going to use it, right?
Yeah, I think it could go either way.
It can go either way.
Agree.
Like
I agree.
It can get the best of you, and
Yeah.
you don't have the awareness to recognize your privilege, and then you're just an asshole.
Yeah, I guess you're right. It could totally go either way.
But we're all on a journey. Like me on my woo, I'll say it that way. Each of our souls is on a journey. I don't know how many times my soul has been here. I don't know what my soul's mission is here.
Yeah.
So like that's kind of how I think about it.
Yeah, and I feel like, and I'm sure for you too, I feel like I'm always growing, always progressing. Like I'll look at myself a year from today and I always want to be embarrassed by who I was a year ago. You know what I mean? I'll probably think about this podcast and be like, oh my God, I can't believe it.
I think about it every
But
time
in
I
the
film
moment-
this podcast.
But in the
I'm
moment,
like,
I'm probably like, yeah, like
same. I'm going to
got
look back and
this.
be like, Melinda, what the fuck were you saying? Why did you say that? Like, but you know what?
But that's part of like
We're
the
doing
growth
our
journey.
best.
It's like you want to keep growing. I don't want to be looking back a year and feel like I looked exactly the same, sounded exactly the same, said the same things. I want to be like, oh, I was embarrassed of that. But in the moment, I thought I was, that's just signs of growth and progression and things
It's
like
also the basis of vulnerability. Vulnerability is uncomfortable oftentimes, but it's also like our superpower because the more vulnerable you can be, especially in the types of jobs that we have, which are people jobs and writing and connecting and speaking. It's like without that, you're kind of just another, how do you differentiate yourself? How do you, and it seems like you very much so are to a certain extent purpose driven in the work that you do.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, totally. And that's important to me too. And I think that's why I like telling these like industry stories and interviewing founders and things like that versus just fluffy,
Yeah.
10 purple shampoos.
Yes.
Nothing wrong with that. And
No, that's why I started this podcast. Same thing, girl. I was like, I love talking. What a privilege to get to talk about 10 purple shampoos on camera with Sephora. Like, what a privilege. But like, we need other outlets.
Yeah. I think that stuff is fun. Like when I wrote the Rare Beauty brow gel review for Ipsy, like that's fun stuff. That's
It is
cute.
fun.
It was
really
and I
cute.
love trying products and I love beauty.
Yeah.
And beauty is fun and fluffy. It's
And
not that
we do
deep,
need
and
the
it's-
lightness in order to offset
so
the...
fun. I
yeah.
love the fluff. I love and when it comes to like my life, like I'm just scrolling on TikTok all day. That's all I do. I'm not sitting there reading intellectual books. We already obviously talked about that. Like I'm not doing so for me, the writing is kind of where the deeper stuff comes in. And I do have deep conversations with people. I'm a conversationalist. I enjoy going there and doing that. But when
That's
it comes
evident, yeah.
But when it comes to just like I think the depth in my like normal day-to-day life is going to be in the storytelling,
I mean, yes, and that is so evident in your storytelling and in the way that you share yourself. This episode included. So thank you so much for doing this, for sharing yourself so vulnerably, for like trusting me to come on here and just be like, let's jump in.
Oh my gosh,
I
but
appreciate you.
what a great opportunity and like an ability that you have to just make it a safe space and make
Thank
me
you.
feel seen and understood. And I could probably just say more. I'm just like,
It's
just,
my happy place. This is my writing place,
Yeah,
like
it's
for
important
you.
that you have that.
Where can everyone find you?
Okay, gosh, I feel like I've now put myself everywhere. I'm pretty much everywhere except YouTube. I don't think I'll ever go there. But I'm on Instagram, Dahvi Shira, TikTok, DGI Dahvs, so DGIDAHVZ, Substack. I think it's just Dahvi.substack.com. It's Dahvi's Life Journal 2.0.
We can put it in the description as well so people can link to it.
And then, am I missing anything? I'm like, wait.
Girl, you have so much going on.
Oh yeah, I think that's. I'm like. Yeah,
and then of course all your freelance work. They'll
I'm
see
sorry.
you out in the wild.
You meant the
No, I meant your handles.
Sorry,
but I mean,
okay.
in
Yeah.
addition.
Okay, so I currently write for Forbes. I write for Ipsy, The Quality Edit, The Daily Beast, and then a bunch that are other
So
scattered
impressive.
stuff.
Good for you.
And then so those are my current. But I've written for a handful of other publications over time. But yeah, mostly covering beauty, wellness. Now I'm doing a lot more travel too, but how it kind of through the eyes of like beauty and wellness, which is really cool. I love the crossover. That's been a lot of fun. And I do a little bit of style, a little bit of that
there's
too.
just a lot of you, a lot of your work out there that I think people can explore, and they should.
Yeah.
But no, you answered right. I meant your social handles. Well, thank you so much. We'll film some fun stuff now.
Cool. Thanks.
Yes. I am really hungry though. I just felt like my energy deplete immediately because I am hungry. It's funny how that works. I literally used to like be able to not eat for like 24 hours because I was so anxious and distracted and in this like fight or flight mode that I could ignore all bodily needs. And now I get hungry and like 2 seconds later, I can't function. What?
I tell you outro and you're like, I'm so hungry I can't function.
I mean, I wanted to start the outro and I wanted to explain to the audience that I'm very hungry right now. And that's why I don't sound very smart. Oh my God. Dahvi, you were incredible. Like truly, I think I'm like giggly right now because just like the end of our shoot was very giggly and fun. I really hope that you all love this episode. I was very excited for this conversation, especially after touching base with her a couple days ago. She's just, I don't know, like she just stands for so much that I love about this industry, even through her energy that she brings when I've met her the couple of times, the few times that I have before this, even just through that, but then getting to know her better, and definitely through her vulnerability and her willingness to share those parts of her. Like, I've had all kinds of guests on here, but you get some people who are like, I want to go so deep. And then they get on here and like, they're resistant to it. Like you can kind of feel it. And that's totally okay, by the way. Absolutely fine. But then sometimes you get people who are just like, yeah, we'll do it and we'll talk about this. And then it just ends up like going so in depth in the best way. And I feel like this one really came together. So hope that you loved it. I hope that you check out her work because she has a lot of writing out there. She recently did a story on Tarte Cosmetics that I thought was really cool. The piece that she did on Rare Beauty's brow gel was really cute. That was more recent. But go find her work and check it out because it's awesome. And yeah, I guess if you have anything to say, any feedback, any thoughts, any personal experiences around ADHD or any kind of compulsive little things that you have, anything that you want to share, let us know in the comments below. I'm sure it'll make all of us feel more connected and supported. Not to mention, it can also give us some ideas as to what other topics you might like to hear here. So definitely comment. As always, make sure you're subscribed or you've hit that bell notification, depending on what platform you are, so you know when new episodes are coming out. And I'll see you all next time. Thank you so much.